Video start. Intro start. 3, 2, 1. Begin. And begin. Hello, wonderful, beautiful broskies. Hello, wonderful, beautiful Maverick Nation. I am the Dark Shadow Maverick. And it is now time for What If Izuku Was Killowa's Son? Part freaking 3, I believe. I do indeed believe part 3. And after this, bulk uploading this. I'm gonna release the videos and, finish what I've started. However, I have to get rid of this beast first. Basically, where we last left off was at the end of the day of the entrance exam. Involves some very special training with Izuku and Midori. If you guys don't remember how I've been talking about things involving this character, before, she is an ant, or also known as a chimera ant. I couldn't remember the full name of the arc, so I just called her an ant because that's what I remember. They were ants. But the full name of the arc is the Chimera Ant arc. She is a chimera ant. But hey, that still makes her an ant, so she would still, I think a funny quirk about her is the fact that there are ant holes, and seeing as, ants come in and out of the ant holes, and she's a chimera ant, I think it would just be really funny if she were to try to talk to him, and they were actually able to understand her. That would be freaking hilarious. For Midori to try to explain that to Izuku about the whole thing that she can kind of talk to ants. And they can understand her and, talk back, and she can understand them. like the Ant Whisperer. No, she just isn't any regular ant. She's a chimera ant, and she isn't just any regular chimera ant. She is basically, for now, the princess, but whenever she actually gets some subjects behind her, she will technically be the queen. Because that's kind of her destiny. Because, her father via reincarnation, yes, the whole Miruem Miri thing is going to be via reincarnation. Because Miruem dies in Hunter x Hunter. Spoiler alert, but he dies. So, like, one of the ways that I kind of like more of doing this is having it be via reincarnation. So, technically, her father via reincarnation, Miruem, was a chimera ant. He was the king of them. He was the king of all the chimera ants. He was the king of all chimera ants. I think me trying to say chimera ant and the America meme kind of morphed into one word. And that was like, chimera. Oh my god, that is rich. That is completely crazy. Anyways, she is basically right now just the princess of the Chimera. Damn it happened again. She is basically just right now. She's just the princess of the Chimera ants. But if she ever gets subjects behind her, she will, become the queen of the Chimera ants. So, yeah, I might say Chimera once, but if I'm ever trying to say, if I'm ever, like, talking really fast, it'll probably sound like I'm saying Chimera. Like, if I'm talking slower, I might say Chimera, but if I'm talking faster, I might say Chimera. It's just something with me. So basically, yeah. She is basically, as of now, pretty much all of her life been the princess of, like, these, I guess you could consider them new chimera ants. Whenever, they do what actually happen. Which, oh my god, when they do. Oh, that's just gonna be rich. That just tells you that they will. And it's gonna be freaking amazing. Like great balls of fire. Basically, Midori is constantly having dreams about, the uprising of the new Chimera ants. The Chimera ants, the new Chimera ants, they're uprising. All being born from the same mother, that being her. And so she keeps on thinking she's going to bring about the apocalypse. And, well, basically, the dream seems more like a premonition. Like a sleep type premonition. As in premonition as in it's going to happen. But, like, Midori is wondering, like, could this be like a Christmas story where it will only happen if things continue on the way that they're continuing? Or like, and if that is the case, like, what do I need to change in order to keep the apocalypse from happening? The new Chimera Ant apocalypse from happening. Because, well, While Pito was indeed hit by Netero's attack, it doesn't really seem to do all that much damage. Like, Pito, I think hit the floor, but didn't really do all that much more than just cause, Pito to get knocked out of the sky. And this is Netero, the guy who fought their king. So, yeah. That's gonna say something that, maybe these quirked individuals aren't ready for the apocalypse of the new Chimera Ants. Maybe they aren't ready for something of that level of catastrophe. Because she knows that not all of the heroes are of equal standings. And even the stronger ones, she's actually afraid that, if she ever gets a royal guard like how her father had a royal guard, that that would be disastrous for, the entirety of the Hero Society. And I did not mean for that to rhyme. But yes, it would indeed be disastrous. I mean, if she got her own royal guard ever, yeah, that'd be scary. So basically, she Midori's thinking, yeah, maybe kind of does run on a Christmas Carol logic. I just gotta do this one thing or not do this one thing in order to prevent this from happening. And so, basically, she ends up thinking that, well, all these ants probably won't be able to be born if she never, finds a mate. So she just tries to, only keep her and Izuku's friendship as exactly that, a friendship, and nothing more. She doesn't want boyfriend and girlfriend because, 1 second you're boyfriend, girlfriend, 1 second you're married. The next second you're married. And that will just lead to, the apocalypse. And she doesn't even know how, Izuku's gonna end up whenever the apocalypse starts. Because God help anyone related to Izuku if freaking apocalypse starts. So basically, yeah. That's what's on Midori's mind right now. As everything's beginning to cool down, because Aizawa wills it. It's Aizawa was like, I am Shotai Aizawa, your homeroom teacher, class 1A, blah. You put these uniforms on in the changing room. Get these, go in the changing room, and meet me out at the training field. We're gonna do a quirk assessment test. And, Midori's like, does she really want to assess her threat level to everyone else? That will even tell her how bad the apocalypse is going to be if she does indeed, not be able to stand being alone. Basically, she's like, maybe assessing her threat level would be a good thing, because, if she can assess her threat level, she'll be able to tell if the heroes will be able to beat, all the different Chimera Ants. Or if she really does indeed need to do something to prevent all this from going haywire. So basically, she goes along with it, and is like, she'll just be using this quirk assessment test to assess her threat level. Because if the threat level of, your basic founding member is a certain way, and you're like the underlings, your threat level is honestly not going to be as high. But still, it would probably be around, level, just not as high. So Midori's just like, I'll just be using this to assess the threat level. She just keeps on telling herself that this is only to assess the threat level, and nothing more. That is until, like, after Bakugo starts showboating. Aizawa does the whole thing about, says the whole thing about expelling the one with the lowest score. And, Midori actually starts to think maybe it would be a good thing if she was expelled. Because, if she was expelled, then, she couldn't get stronger and cause the threat level to raise. Because, who knows, maybe a few months from now, the threat level will have risen because of her getting stronger. And, well, she doesn't think Izuku can see this. This puzzledness of her, on her face. And Aizawa can kind of see it too, but, really doesn't, care all that much. I mean, the ant wants to be a good girl. The ant wants to be a good girl, so, what's the worst that can happen? Like, he doesn't know the extent of the threat of the Chimera ants, like the original ones. He doesn't know the extent and the threat level of the originals and their king. He doesn't even know. No, he doesn't know about the mountain-busting attacks. Aizawa is completely ignorant to the actual threat level that could be caused. And, like, the destruction. He's completely ignorant to it, so he really, just sees, like, this girl does want to become a hero, so that is a good thing for us, right? But Midori is actually worrying about things that you should be worried about, like she does know all these things, so knowing all these things, she would want to assess certain things so that people wouldn't die, or at least the amount of deaths would be minimal at best. Before, the threat was stopped, if they could even stop it. Or, as their queen, just force them to go somewhere else. Like, say, we're moving, we aren't going to hurt any more of these people, we're moving. Midori is no way a fan of hurting people, unless they're villains. Like, innocent people, innocent good Samaritans, she isn't a fan of that. And so she would hope her children would follow the same philosophy and not be like the old ant, like Chimera ants. But she can never really tell because it's nature versus nurture. I mean, she may try to, nurture them to be good, but it will always be in the nature to, like, have this Chimera ant-like mentality. And so, yeah. She basically has all these thoughts jumbled up in her head, and Izuku can see right through her. And it's just like, well, it's not exactly his time to throw yet. Basically just goes up to Midori and is like, Midori, I can tell what's bothering you. It's the whole thing about the Chimera ants, isn't it? And, Midori is like, yeah, I guess I can't ever really keep, I can't ever really keep that in my mind. Sorry if I'm worrying you. And Izuku's like, don't be. Trust me. We'll find a way to fix this. If indeed you do end up having, Chimera ant offspring, and it looks like things are about to go down south, we'll find a way to fix it. I'm 100% assured that, well, us as friends, we can fix the problem before it even becomes a problem. And hey, maybe we can even get, like, any of your Chimera Ant offspring to become heroes as well. And, well, Midori never considered that, but she's still like, it's, nature over nurture because of the way the Chimera Ants were. So she can't really seem to understand. That is until Izuku reminds her of the one thing. John can. And automatically, Midori remembers John can. That thing that Izuku taught her. He wouldn't have taught her that if he didn't trust her. And if he trusts her that much to teach her that, basically, this must mean that he trusts her so much that he would blindly go into, like, death's door. And if he's that kind of guy, if he feels that way about her, then maybe it's already kind of too late to back away from boyfriend-girlfriend. Like, evidently it's gonna creep up because no one with that amount of trust towards you and that amount of faith that, all of these feelings is just gonna stay your regular friend forever. There's something deeper in there, and, Izuku is slowly alluding to it, slowly, like, leaving the little hints and clues, seeing if Midori can figure it out. Testing her smarts. And Midori has finally figured it out. And Midori's like, damn it, can't you see? This is only going to ensure that... what do you think will happen to you afterwards? She's basically saying this all to Izuku, and Izuku's like, what, after the whole thing with the Chimera Ants? Reborn? Well, I mean, I really don't think Midori had anyone, like, filling the role of queen to his side. Plus, the dude didn't even know his own name until it was too late. Your father, I mean. In all due respects, Midori, you're just worrying too much. We got this. And if it turns out that things are getting a little bit, too sporadic and out of control, well, that's just the job of the hero. To protect the people as best they can. And I guess this will just be a test to see just how good of a hero I could have been. Or could be, if we do manage to survive. If everything does work out alright. You really don't think I would have just taught you the Jonkin for no reason, right? And Midori would just be like, rock, scissors, paper. Until now, I've only mastered rock, and I'm just now getting to the other two. And Izuku's like, I was using the beach as a gauge for that. It's going to be only rock for quite some time. I see the other two being a little bit harder for you to master. However, that doesn't mean I won't try to help you. And Midori would just be like, I just hope you're right. And I don't plunge this world into an apocalypse like in my dream premonitions. I just hope we can prevent another thing like that happening. And if it is true that it is inevitable for there to be more chimera ants, for me to have subjects, for me to become queen because of that, queen of the chimera ants, then you say you will be my king. Are you really willing to go through with that? And Izuku's like, listen, I've seen how you look at me, and, well, I'm sure you've seen how I look at you. If that doesn't say power couple, then I don't know what does. If that doesn't say power couple, basically he just reassures her, don't worry, everything is gonna be alright. Just total chill mode. He even knows about the chimera ants, and he knows how dangerous they can be. Even the royal guard of the chimera ants. He knows how dangerous they can be, so him being so chill, even knowing that, and knowing everything, that kind of does give reassurance to Midori that maybe they can indeed make this work. If indeed it does ever happen. So, yes, indeed, next person, even though, he's going to get first place in the ball throw, he wanted to see everyone else. So I thought, well, allowed this, but only because, he didn't want to hear complaining. So he allowed everyone else to go. And, the last person to go, before Izuku is Midori. And Midori is like, John Ken? Basically, just throws up in the air, and the fist is like, boom! Just basically John Ken's the softball. Good. Not 500. 5,750 meters. Actually, 5,780 meters, yes. 5,780 meters. And everybody's just like, what the beep? like Leona Red versus Blue is still showing. And, Midori is just like, and just so you know, I wasn't using any type of quirk whenever I did that. If you want to see me use my full power, well then, I can always... And she just does the same thing again, only this time, whenever she hits with the Jonkin, it's specifically rock. And whenever she hits the softball, it explodes. Or rather, it looked like it exploded, but, they actually see that it's moving so fast that, actual eye cannot, the naked eye cannot pick it up. And it ends up getting the same as Ochanko's score in the ball throw. Yes, Ochanko and Midori actually, tie. They both get infinity. Just because, Chimera Ant Queen, everybody, because, I basically just have said several times, ensured you that it is going to happen. So, it's the tiles have to going to have to change sooner or later. So future Chimera Ant Queen, baby, in the freaking making. So why wouldn't she be overpowered as frick? And well, basically, the last person, Izuku, only because he specifically requested please, freaking pretty please, pretty please. And Izuku astounds everyone just like, first time he throws, oh, that's good and all. Like, he was actually able to get it to go above the clouds. And the meters he basically got 1 million meters. And they're all like, what? That's without his quirk. Or at least what they think is a quirk. But no, whenever he actually starts to, get up and go in him, which Midori knows he actually isn't going to use his full power, because if he did, he would literally just explode this entire place. Just because of, the fact that he was the one who taught her the Jonkin. And acted all sensei like he has to have some power behind him. Plus, being all chill even after hearing everything about the, Chimera Ants. Even after hearing all of that, and even knowing that one of his classmates is basically going to be the future queen of the Chimera Ants. And he just chilling freaking like a villain. Just chilling. He really doesn't seem to care. Well, he does care, but, he really is just very nonchalant. And you guys may be wondering, who did I basically expel in order to get Midori in here? Who did I expel? Well, who is always freaking the anime and the manga are trying to ship, Izuku with? Izuku is always being the people making the manga and thus the people making the anime are always shipping freaking Izuku and Ochako. So I decided, just because, lady character and boy character, let's make it a different lady character with the boy character. Yes, literally. Ochako and Midori were in there, and so they're like, maybe in order to make, all the teachers were like, maybe in order to make this fair, one of the people that was, part of the thing should be, expelled. And not really expelled, but not given an exception letter. Basically saying that since Ochako had to be saved, but then the person saving her had to be saved, but, the person saving her is actually pretty badass, and got a lot of points before trying to save her, Ochako just doubly looked down on, so she didn't get an exception letter. Ochako is not going to be in this. She is not going to be a student 1A. Basically, yeah. So basically, we had that on out of a drift. Because, Ochako isn't even anywhere near Izuku. So yeah, Midori and Izuku can happen. With no interruptions. Because the ladies all know, this lady is a beast. She's a beast, and if she wants that man, she can have him. Because they aren't going to try to fight her in order to get him. Some of them may be in crazy mad love with Izuku, but as soon as Midori shows up, and shows how freaking beast she is. Basically, it becomes Midori against like the rest of the class, and then they just submit. Like the rest of the female members of the class, they just submit, and they're like, "You can have him." So yeah, Izuku basically is like, so pretty much got 1,000,000 meters, and I was like, "What? Didn't exactly look at you using your quirks, so." Even though Izuku's gonna be like, sure, he's not actually going to go full extent, because if he did, he could literally blow this place up with white lightning and not actually be trying to use white lightning. So he's just like, fine, I'll just do half of my, more aggressive side. He's just like, he's still chillax whenever saying this, because he's just like, I really don't want to, but I will, fine, whatever. And whenever just like using half of his less chillax mode, like that he made for himself, like he's all these different modes to like present his power and like the stages of it. And he just like, finally, I get to show this off. Midori, are you looking? Gotcha, are you looking? And both like Midori and Bakugo are just like staring. And Izuku's like, good. I want you two to see this. Midori, for you to stop worrying all the time, and Kacchan, for you to understand where you stand here in the pecking order of UA. Not just this class, but UA in general. And you would just have the ball and you'd be like tossing it up and down and up and down, just be like spinning it. Well, and you just be able to little flick it, just be like, it's time to go, little birdie. Like, pew! Just like sends it off. And basically, Aizawa has to use a special machine in order to find where the ball ended up. And basically, where the ball ends up, like stopping finally, it finally ends up stopping after God knows how long of them just waiting for results. Like the entire class just waiting for the results. And Aizawa was actually kind of dumbfounded, and he's like, what the fuck? It's like, you don't even look like you were trying completely. Like, I told you, you use everything. And he's like, and if I did, this entire area would be scorched. Trust me, Teach. I got this. Just tell everybody. And Aizawa was like, well, it's safe to say that saying that it's on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy would be an understatement. And it would not all be an overstatement to say that, it's actually 2 Milky Way galaxies away from our actual Milky Way galaxy. Yes, 2 Milky Way galaxies long, actually outside of the first Milky Way galaxy. So it literally traveled. Aizawa just basically says to everyone, the ball traveled 3 Milky Way galaxies. And basically, that doesn't even say infinity. That just basically breaks the machine And so that's why I had to bring up that old high-tech shit. Because he had to find something that could, like, scale up how far the bullet went. And why it took so long is because he had to, like, float a tracker out there in the middle of space in order to put onto the ball to, like, figure out where the ball was. And so they were basically just waiting for the tracker to get onto the ball. Out in the middle of deep space. Not the video games, just deep space in general. And Bakugo's just like... He's like... 3 of them? 3? He's just broken at this point. This man doesn't even know in what universe he's in. Like... And Midori is just like, nah, okay, now I understand why. She has like a little bit of a tiny Jeff Goldblum fit, like in the middle of her sentence. Like, now I understand why he's such a lax. 3 Milky Way galaxies, and he wasn't even using all of his power. Yeah, now I am really convinced that he would have blown up everything here. And I'm also really convinced that he might just be able to control any offspring I do have. But damn, 3 of them? I mean, come on, what the frick? And she doesn't even check the machine as well, and it's like, well, I saw I wasn't tripping balls. Indeed, that's 3 Milky Way galaxies long of a trip. First, our Milky Way galaxy, going out through there. Then 2 more. And it's currently at the very beginning of like a 4th. So, it's like midway transport finally stopped. Or like, it transcended galaxies. That's how hard he threw it. And he wasn't even, like, going full force. So, yeah, Izuku's, like, many stages in which he can unlock, like, more power for him to use. Like, he's just like, yeah, that was more or less me just, trying because. That's, like, my trying because stage. Like, trying because you said so, or trying because I feel like it. Just trying because. That's like my trying because stage. Yeah, Izuku can basically not hear what he's, like, freaking saying. Like, he cannot believe what he's just freaking hearing from this dude. And so, basically, like, before he's able to go home, he basically has to, do a little appointment with the Principal Netsu. And, Principal Netsu was like, this is amazing. You and that Midori girl are, like, the top 2 students. Yeah, Midori is pretty much upstaging everyone. And, basically, Izuku isn't exactly, surprised at someone who is a freaking, like future queen of the Chimera Ants, is, like, tied with him for, like, best. So, yeah, basically, he's just like, that's why I've been training her. That attack she used on the ball? Well, technically, attack and then another version of that attack. And there's the regular Jonken, and then there's the only one that she seems to know right now out of the 3, Jonken Rock. And there's paper and scissors, but she can't really seem to get a hold of those, it seems. Just seems that she can't really seem to get a hold of those. And Natsu is like, oh, that's interesting. And Izuku's just like, oh, and for the whole record, she is not just some human with a transformation quirk. She is the future queen of the Chimera Ants. Currently now just the princess of the Chimera Ants. And basically, Netsu is just like, he has some food, like, what? And she wants to be a hero. And Izuku's like, yeah, it's kind of strange how, people thought to be, like, purely evil, like a race plot that thought to be purely evil, turned up someone so nice. Again, she is more of a reincarnation of that Miruem guy. So, Miruem's more just like her father through reincarnation. And then, like, freaking Netsu was like, Miruem is her father. What any means is her father. Just like choking. And people are like, Heimlich maneuver. Like, the principal is dying. Heimlich maneuver. And so basically, Netsu spreads the information, and basically to anyone and everyone that are like school staff. And they just start talking about it, gossiping about it. And Minori is like, why did you do that? Like, what the hell? What the absolute hell? And Bakugo just goes up to him like, he's just like, Basically, he's just like, you two tied for the top score. In their eyes, at least. One of you is a Zoldyck, and the other one is the future queen, currently princess of the Chimera Ants. Yet you want to be a hero. The both of you do. One of your whole thing is, a big old clan of assassins. And the other, well, Chimera Ant. Go figure what that means. He's just like, anyone and everyone should know by now, just how bad the Chimera Ants were. Like, how much of a problem. And so he's clapping like this. And they're wondering why. Like, he's saying all this bad shit, but then he's clapping at the same time. It's almost like a supervillain. And Bakugo's like, You two big nerd wallets have my respect. And they're like, nerd wallets? And Bakugo's like, don't expect me to change immediately. I said you have my respect, not that I like you. And Miruem's like, fair enough. I think that's a little bit more than I'm going to get from anyone else here. And Bakugo is like, actually, that one guy, the icy hot, D-bag, him, it looks like he hates you. And, Minori is just like, Shoto Todoroki hates me? And just like, wait, Shoto Todoroki is, oh god, he is the son of Endeavor, the number 2 hero, and he hates me. Oh god, no. And, and Bakugo is just like, more like, oh god, yes, for any other person in their mindset. They all think we're the crazies. Well, technically, if we were to make some sort of friend group, then we'd have a chimera ant, a Zoldyck, and someone with a quirk like mine. Explosive power. Trust me, it would be a union of great possibilities. And very many of them as well. I don't usually act like this towards a lot of people, you know. So the fact that I'm even willing to do it at all, you should feel grateful. And, well, Izuku would actually be starting to think, wait, your last name, Bakugo, your not really last name, but your name, Bakugo, it's Katsuki Bakugo. Bakugo's like, yeah, what about it? Katsuki, I think, well, with every group, you have people who branch off, free thinkers, if you know what I mean. And from what I can remember, free sounds a lot like freaks. You know that name? And, all of a sudden Bakugo would start getting a little tense and be like, Mom told me not to talk about that name. Never to talk about that name. And Izuku's like, oh, so you're one of those people. People that I heard. The Freaks family. It's a little bit bigger than most people think. And a little bit more expanding, too. However, some members of the Freaks family refer to themselves as Bakugo Freaks. Yes, Bakugo Freaks. Or even better, Freaks Bakugos. Refer to themselves as Freaks Bakugos. Actually, no. Bakugo Freakses make more sense because they technically still are Freakses. So, they refer to themselves as Bakugo Freakses. And what Bakugo meant to the Freakses is why, well, the Bakugo Freakses were so despised whenever they originally came to be. Bakugo isn't exactly something that the Freakses liked. Your name, Bakugo. Katsuki Bakugo. You're one of the lucky ones. You know nearly not enough to truly understand the weight of the Bakugo Freakses, their impact on the world, before they were submerged into darkness by their own creation. Tokiyami thinks his dark shadow is something to be feared. Oh no. The Bakugo shadow. Now that's something you can fear. They created it in order to restore order and balance to the entire Freaks line. And Bakugo's like, I've heard of that, but only in stories. Are you telling me the Bakugo shadow is real? And, Izuku's like, yep. And, well, its power is only passed down every, I'd say, 1,000 years. Not really 1,000, no, that's... I'm thinking of something else with 1,000. Oh, yes, that's right. Roll it back a little. No, not 1,000, not 100, but, oh yeah, now I remember 10. Every decade. Every decade. Or at least that's what it would have been had it not been for the magical entrapping spells that put magical seals upon the beast, known as the Bakugo Shadow. That's whenever it was put towards 100 years of sleep. And then it would reawaken with the seals impressed on it, limiting its power. Some of the Bakugo freaks that were not folded in fear by the Bakugo Shadow's power, some of them are still around. Those that are not afraid to spread darkness and chaos using the Bakugo Shadow. The Bakugo Shadow. You, your family, having that name, and being a family in which their member was one of those who was not folded in fear. One of the Bakugo Shadow 10, as I was told. No, 13. Bakugo Shadow 13, as I was told. And Bakugo's like, Mom was a member of the Bakugo Shadow 13? Mom was a member of that group? She never told me? She had said about them all the time. Tried to discourage me from trying anything like that to gain power. She made me afraid of the Bakugo Shadow whenever she was one of the people who wasn't folded in fear by its mere existence. And Izuku's like, you have great power, Bakugo. We can get you blood tested to see certain results. Cross-roading it with Nen, we can find out if you're capable. And Bakugo would be like, capable of? No. You don't actually think. Basically, it would just be like, my parents can't know that we're doing these tests, though. And he was like, and do you think I was going to let them know? No. You'll be underneath the protection of the Zoldix while this is happening. It's a little bit of a fee that you're going to have to pay up, though. Around 50 Rio. And Bakugo's like, here. Just so we can figure this out, so I can finally get some sleep at night whenever thinking about that thing. Can't believe my mother wasn't actually folded in fear by its mere existence. I can't believe she was one of them. One of the 13. And basically, they would go, get to the blood test, and then they would find some, like, nin extract. And, when they were alone, they would basically dip the blood in the nin extract, and basically this fusion of blood and nin extract would, give them their answer. As well, it would turn black. The nin extract. It wouldn't turn red like how normal blood, like blood water, like, the Egyptian plagues, like turning water into blood. It wouldn't turn red, it would turn black. And whenever Bakugo looked into the blackness, the deep abyss, he would see something. It would see himself. However, this version of himself told him that day of reckoning will come. Whether you choose to live or die is of your own fruition. It is not my fault if you die. It is your own. That's whenever the figure would disappear from Bakugo's reflection in the Black Nin extract. As then the Black Nin extract, well, basically Bakugo would be compelled to drink it because it had turned liquid form. You know, because of the fact that the basically blood was entered into it, and the correct blood. So it would basically turn liquid form, and, you know, Midori would think this to be dangerous, to be drinking something like Nin extract. But then Izuku would be like, I got this, we got this. And, you know, they would wait till Bakugo was done. It would kind of be like with Esdeath. Like when Esdeath drank all the freaking Tegu blood thing. However, whenever Bakugo, you know, all of that went down, and that hearty gulp, you know, Bakugo would be like, I feel this is... I know what I need to do now. You guys, we will be the ones. And imagine an ant, a quirk user, and a nin user, who are from a family of assassins, no doubt, making a freaking friend group. How absolutely unrealistic and ridiculous is that? However, I find that it's the only way. With this, I have a feeling that this won't be the end. That we will meet again, Izuku. And whenever we do, it will be as enemies. Not in a battle to the death. Only if either of us makes it that way. No. Would simply be, I guess you could call it a mock battle. I can see that far. And I have a feeling whenever that part of my memory has already come to pass, you know, basically Bakugo would be like, whenever that part of my memory has come to pass and already been done and over with, then something new will be unlocked. And I'll be able to see even further into the future. And the way Bakugo is like starting to even describe it even better as he's going on, Izuku's actually starting to think, this, like, future ability is even better than Sir Night Eyes. Like, he's seeing the exact future of not just one person, but multiple freaking people. Like, the entire class of 1A. Like, that we're all going to basically be put in mock battles. 2 versus 2, heroes, villains. Basically, and it also has something to do with All Might. And so, to expect him. He doesn't know when, but just to expect him. Because he can feel it. All Might's essence is a part of his premonition that he's getting. And he feels he will indeed get more. And he can now see future events. He has basically become, you know, a freaking, you know, how Moses, was like the leader of the Jews whenever he finally freed them. Basically, Bakugo was becoming the leader of this 3-man, like 2-man, 1-woman, who also just so happens to be a Chimera Ant. Not just any Chimera Ant, the current princess, but soon to be queen, whenever soon is. This 3-man squad, he's kind of like the Moses of it, because he's like the one carrying it along, with these visions. I kind of feel like if they didn't have Bakugo around, things would be a little bit harder. He's kind of like the observer, the all-seeing eye of their group. The one who can tell them the future. That's basically what Bakugo is doing right now. Telling them everything about what's going to happen next. Which is indeed, guys, going to be heroes versus villains. And basically, Bakugo's saying pretty much almost everything, but, leaving certain details out because he says that whenever he tries to pry into those, things get foggy. And he starts to lose control of his, future seeing ability that he just got out of nowhere. And apparently, because of a call that, they both get later in the day, it's a 3-way call, Bakugo can apparently not just see it whenever, they're around each other, but he can see the future, whenever. But he can only see the parts of the future that he was able to see whenever with them. It's like a group effort. As far as his eye can be taken with their help. If he wants to go beyond anything else, his vision will just get blurry and start to go out of control. And that goes the same for, his regular eyesight, too. He's seeing how it's starting to affect his eyes. And so, he started doing it less and less, and, his eyesight started getting better again. And basically, he also realized that he, must have, from, being in contact with them, seeing as, they were kind of, in the mid-handshake. They were kind of in mid-handshake whenever Bakugo, started this whole thing, a haptic thing. Mid-handshake, all 3 of them were touching. So they were kind of, all in sync. He could read both of their things, so his power was even stronger than if it was just one. And that's the thing. His power just isn't any random future seeing. He can also see certain special things about certain people that he touches. If he touches you, he can see certain things which he may or may not like about you. And those things can get very, very, very grim. I'm gonna say it upright. I'm not gonna say it now. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it right now. That I'm not gonna say anything about that specific touch power right now. How just, why it's grim and why it can be, not exactly something for the faint of heart. What he can see if he touches you. Basically, it will be part of your life. Basically, anything that happens whenever he touches you, if, he has the power active, it will have to do with your life. Or, some sort of tie that your life has to his. The downside of this is he can't really use certain, versions of that power on himself no matter how much he wants to or would want to in the future. He can't, like, actually self-injure himself, even if he wanted to. So yeah, basically they just figured out that their friend, Bakugo, he's now trying to be more, of a friend, is not only getting these crazy visions about entire whole events that have to deal with, like, class, but he can be very specific as well, like just by touching someone while having the power active. And how can you tell if he has the power active? Well, let's just say, you ever heard of the saying photo negative? Like the whole black and white shit? His eyes would basically be photo negative. That's what they would look like. They wouldn't have, like, color, like normal color, like the way eyes are supposed to look. They would be photo negative. His eyes would turn to the color of photo negative. And that's how you can tell whenever he's using any of his powers. Not just one specific power, but any of his powers, whenever he's using them, his eyes will turn to photo negative in color. So, yeah. Mitsuki kind of freaked out whenever she first saw Bakugo demonstrate any of his powers. And Bakugo doesn't really know how to control his powers all that much. And, well, they're soon to begin to find out that, actually, in a dream, he calls them, like, at a later date, because I'm gonna say the mock battles actually, take place after a certain amount of time, a few days. One day he calls them up and says that in a dream he had, like one of his dream premonition thingies, he heard a voice. And it was like a photo negative version of him, basically telling him that it's basically the spirit of his power, and that this is no normal quirk. What's deep inside of him is something that's been deep inside his family line for a long time. Like, every single last member has this ability, but some of them can't exactly use it because it's locked in. Like, you have to break the locks and restraints of, like, your previous self in order to obtain the ability. And whenever Bakugo did all that stuff that I had to deal with, the Nen extract and, his blood, drinking that little mixture, what do you know? The mixture became an out-of-control explosion from within inside his mindscape, and, well, his entire soul, actually, blowing it up and, reincarnating his mindscape and soul into one being. Which being the being, like, right in front of him. And so he was basically given a new mindscape that is, like, fused with his soul. So everything here is also his soul. Even, like, the air that he's somehow breathing is his soul. He's only breathing his soul. And seeing his soul everywhere he sees anything. So, yeah. The fact that his mindscape and soul basically reformed and fused together in order to be, like, complete again. And that's what, like, sparked the entire thing. This special power of, the, Bakugo Freaks. Basically, the Bakugo Freaks had a little special power that they could get from, you know, their little shadow buddy. Well, the ones that didn't fold from fear, like, they could actually extract some power and, like, create the ability. That's how the ability was first created, is they extracted all the power, yet the power wanting to not, be shattered into pieces, it, like, every piece that they grabbed, it basically gravitated to all the other pieces like a magnet. And this power became so strong that it manifested itself into a new Nen-like type thing. Basically, Bakugo has his own Nen thing. Like, if I can remember it. Killowa's Nen thing was White Lightning. Gon's Nen thing was the Jonken. I believe Kurapika's was the Chains. And Lou Larilio, or whatever the frick his name is, Lou Cheerios. God forsaken, I don't know. Like, Luario. I think his ability has something to do with electricity, but I don't know. I honestly do not. Oh, yeah, it's the remote punch. I think Luario, whatever the frick his name is, like the remote punch. And the remote punch has something to do with electricity, I believe so. So, yeah, like the different Nen things. Basically, the one that Bakugo is now just unlocked is the one that they created whenever they started ripping pieces. And, like, the pieces reformed outside of the creature's body into one actual, artifact from all of the malice and cold-like, nature of these Bakugo freaks. These members that were not known to be foldable by fear, or by any means. Not even torture. Actually, they kind of get a hard-on from torture. They're kind of like Hisoka whenever being tortured. So, yeah. Basically, from all of that, morphed the different pieces whenever they were starting to fuse together. It morphed them into a special power. A special Nen power locked away within the genuses, like, of all of these different members, like, their descendants. But it was legit locked away, like, they could not access it unless they did the certain thing. Which, apparently they figured out what exactly that certain thing is. On accident. And, well, basically, this Nen ability, or Nen power, basically, is something. Let me think of a cool, badass name. I might actually have to stop the video and come back. I'm back. And I think I came up with the perfect thing. It's even a reference to the Ghost Rider. The Contract of 1,000 Souls. It's a reference to that. Basically, his ability thing, his Nen ability thing, would be known as 1,000 Souls. Basically, what 1,000 Souls allows him to do is some pretty heavy metal shit. I'm not gonna lie. We already know about the fact that he can, basically see the future, but there is way more that 1,000 souls allows him to do. Basically, he becomes Ghost Rider, Zarathos, Johnny Blaze, and more. And remember, I said and more, so it's like you can even throw Lobo in there. Like, basically, Bakugo becomes the ultimate, like, mad lad whenever he activates 1,000 souls. Because basically, the reason why it's called 1,000 souls is because, well, where do you think all the other freaking Bakugo Freaks people went? Like, there's only, like, Bakugo and his mother left. Because technically, now that he has, like, the Nin ability 1,000 souls, like that Nin thing, now that he has it, he's technically awakened his Bakugo Freaks side. And so, he's a Bakugo Freaks as well. Well, he basically has accepted his role as a Bakugo Freaks. So yeah, the only ones left are freaking Mitsuki and Bakugo because, like, the husband, I believe, has a different last name, or had one. Anyways, even if he was, he wouldn't be traditional. Seeing as Bakugo was born from Mitsuki, who was a traditional, Bakugo would also be considered a traditional. That is until, like, his power, since it's sentient, yes, his power is actually freaking sentient, figures out that he has other plans than actually going through the way of, like, the 1,000 souls. Like, where do you think the 1,000 souls went? Like, that was, like, the last of the people that were, like, swayed onto the way of the Bakugo Freaks, that weren't killed whenever they said no. So, yeah. Basically, where do you think they went? Let's just say, if you're not gonna fold out of fear, you're gonna fold out of mindfuck. Yes, mindfuck. Not Mein Kampf, mindfuck. Yes, you're going to fold out of the mindfuck. That's literally what happened to them. The artifact was so strong, it literally drenched them in mindfuck. And it was so strong that they couldn't take it. Their minds were literally getting screwed over to the point where it was like a full-on lobotomy and, like, beyond. So the only thing that they could really do is off themselves. So yeah, basically the 1,000 souls, they're basically all hellbound because, the good old saying, suiciders go to hell. So if that's indeed holds any water, then, these people would be going to hell. Plus, their thing is already kind of more cult than religion. So, yeah. Probably going to hell. To suffer or become a part of a big contract that's, like, built into the family. Like, the latest member is allowed to use the powers of the contract. And, well, basically, each soul you get a power-up. And since there's 1,000 souls there, you can either, like, get a power-up from each soul, but not all of them will be great. Or you can, like, sacrifice a bunch of souls and get a really banging power-up. And just to let you know, these power-ups don't just fade away and become nothing after he's used them once. He can recall upon the power-ups. All he just has to do is, like, put, like, like relieve like a tag from the name because they're like inside scrolls. Open the scroll, and there's going to be a tag because after you use it, in order to not lose the power up, you got to put a tag over the name of the people. And so, like, if you just put tags and then you just like attach some string and you just grab the string and like just like pull the string, it automatically rips all the tags off, and automatically the complete power up returns to you. And that's kind of how Bakugo would learn how to keep the power ups. And it doesn't. You can't. It doesn't. It's not really all that much for him to do that. It's actually pretty easy making the tags and attaching the string to them and making them stickable to scrolls. Because all that kind of comes naturally due to his instinct as a Bakugo Freaks. Now awakening. His little Bakugo Freaks instincts would be awakening, allowing him to know exactly what to do at the exact right time. These instincts would be awakening, giving him so much more power, so he would actually be able to be on their level, like Midori and Izuku. So yeah, basically that's the age-old question on where all the souls went, like all the people. Yeah, they kind of Bakugo's biatches now. So yeah, they're basically folding to Bakugo now. You ain't gonna fold to the ultimate entity of evil that you just send like down here. You're gonna fold to this kid. And basically it's just after everything is done. On to analysis because the dark shadow members OT out, you boys. Like, favorite, subscribe, something about the comments section. Finally, I get it right. Damn it. At least I have 112 subscribers now. I'm actually starting to grow. We're starting to grow as a family here. We're starting to grow. Learn to be together. In these harsh times. Where COVID is still kicking around being a piece of shit. During these harsh times, if we can't stick together in the physical way, we'll stick together in the technological way. Now, that's something to be proud of. If you can't find one way to, stick together, find a different way. Just don't try to be cyberbullies. Don't try to, Mark Zuckerberg my ass. Don't try that shit. Because I will fold you. I will freaking vibe check the Austin. I don't even know what the frick I just said, but it sounded cool. Anyways. Basically, bye.